Have you ever wondered why you were born into your specific family, in your particular circumstances, at this exact moment in history? What if I told you that according to one of the most documented psychics in human history, none of it was random? That your soul actually chose every single detail of your life before you were even born? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Now, I know this might sound impossible at first. After all, why would anyone choose to experience pain, struggle, or hardship? But Edgar Cayce, through over 14,000 meticulously documented psychic readings, revealed something that completely transforms how we understand our existence. He discovered that our souls don't just randomly tumble into physical bodies. They make deliberate, conscious choices about every aspect of the life they're about to live. Has this ever happened to you? You meet someone and feel an instant, inexplicable connection, as if you've known them forever. Or perhaps you've found yourself in a situation that feels strangely familiar, like you've been there before. Cayce would say, these aren't coincidences. They're evidence of your soul's pre-incarnation planning at work. According to Cayce's extensive research archived at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, every soul carries what he called a spiritual ideal. Think of it as your soul's mission statement for this lifetime. This isn't about career goals or material success. This is about the specific spiritual qualities your soul committed to developing through the experiences of human life. Whether it's learning patience through challenging relationships, developing compassion through personal struggles, or discovering your capacity for service through helping others overcome similar obstacles you've faced. But here's where it gets really profound, and what you're about to discover might surprise you. Cayce revealed that souls actually volunteer for their most difficult experiences. That job loss that forced you to discover hidden talents, that relationship that ended and taught you about self-worth, that health challenge that awakened your spiritual awareness. According to Cayce's documented findings, these weren't cosmic punishments or random misfortunes. They were precisely what your soul requested as part of its spiritual curriculum. Stay with me until the end, because understanding this completely changes everything about how you view your current circumstances. When you realize that your soul specifically chose your parents, your birthplace, your early challenges, and even your natural talents and interests, you begin to see your life not as a series of random events, but as a carefully orchestrated spiritual education designed by your own higher consciousness. Cayce taught that recognizing this soul-level planning is just the beginning. There are specific signs that indicate when someone is successfully living according to their soul's pre-incarnation blueprint. 9 unmistakable patterns that appear when a person aligns with their deeper spiritual purpose. And recognizing these signs in your own life reveals whether you're fulfilling the mission your soul came here to accomplish, or if you're still searching for that deeper sense of meaning and direction that so many people describe as feeling like they're meant for something more. This is the kind of meaningful spiritual content I'm passionate about sharing. Insights that actually support your soul's awakening. If that resonates with your journey, subscribing ensures you won't miss these discoveries. This transformation in perspective represents one of the most profound mindset shifts you can experience. When you understand that your current struggles aren't cosmic mistakes or evidence that life is unfair, but rather represent the exact spiritual curriculum your soul enrolled in before birth, everything changes. That difficult boss who pushes all your buttons. Your soul specifically chose that dynamic to develop patience and inner strength. That financial challenge that's forcing you to be more creative and resourceful. It's not a punishment. It's your soul's chosen classroom for learning trust and discovering capabilities you didn't know you possessed. The hidden truth behind this revelation becomes even more compelling. when you realize that Cayce didn't arrive at these insights through philosophical speculation or wishful thinking. Over 30 years of documented work, he consistently identified the same patterns emerging in reading after reading. The Association for Research and Enlightenment meticulously archived these sessions, creating an unprecedented database of spiritual information that continues to reveal the systematic nature of soul planning and purpose fulfillment. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding the theory is just the beginning. What really matters is recognizing when these soul-level decisions are actually working in your life. The first sign that someone is successfully living according to their pre-incarnation blueprint is something Cayce called the healing presence phenomenon, and chances are you've either experienced this yourself or witnessed it in others without fully understanding what was happening. People who are aligned with their soul's chosen path begin emanating something that goes beyond normal human interaction. They become conduits for a type of energy that naturally promotes healing and well-being in others, often without any conscious intention or effort on their part. You know these individuals, they're the people others gravitate toward during difficult times, the ones who seem to have a calming effect just by being present. Their words carry weight, not because they're particularly wise or educated, but because something deeper is speaking through them. This isn't about becoming a professional healer or developing special psychic abilities. It's about what happens when your personal frequency aligns with your soul's intended vibration. Cayce observed that this healing presence affects people on multiple levels. Physical symptoms sometimes improve around these individuals. Emotional burdens feel lighter, and spiritual questions that have been troubling someone for years suddenly find clarity through seemingly casual conversations. This phenomenon becomes even more fascinating when you understand what Cayce discovered about the actual frequency at which purpose-aligned individuals operate. He consistently observed that people living their soul's true calling begin vibrating at what he termed the Christ consciousness frequency. Now, before you think this is tied to any specific religious doctrine, understand that Cayce found this same principle operating across all spiritual backgrounds and belief systems. Whether someone was Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or held no particular religious affiliation, this frequency emerged whenever they aligned with their deeper spiritual purpose. This isn't about adopting certain beliefs or following particular practices. It's about what happens when your personal energy signature matches the vibration your soul intended to carry during this lifetime. Think of it like tuning an instrument. When you're properly aligned, you naturally resonate at the frequency that allows spiritual forces to work through you most effectively. The transformation occurs not through effort or striving, but through releasing the resistance that keeps you operating below your soul's intended capacity. What makes this discovery so remarkable is how people operating from this frequency become what Cayce called spiritual catalysts. They don't preach or try to convince others of anything. Instead, their mere presence begins awakening something dormant in those around them. It's as if they remind others of their own spiritual nature simply by being authentically themselves. You've probably encountered individuals like this, people who make you feel more connected to your deeper self just by spending time with them, who inspire you to ask bigger questions about life's meaning without ever directly addressing spiritual topics. The hidden truth behind this catalyst effect reveals the profound impact our internal alignment has on the world around us. When someone discovers and lives from their soul's chosen purpose, they become a living reminder that such alignment is possible. Others unconsciously recognize this authentic expression and begin questioning their own choices, relationships, and life direction. It's a behind-the-scenes influence that operates through presence rather than persuasion, through example rather than explanation. But perhaps the most compelling evidence that someone is living according to their soul's blueprint comes through what happens to their physical health. Cayce repeatedly demonstrated through his medical readings that spiritual alignment directly affects bodily function and well-being. He taught that disease often results from spiritual misalignment. When we're living contrary to our soul's intended purpose, our physical body begins manifesting symptoms that reflect this internal disharmony. The journey back to health often requires not just medical intervention, but realigning with the spiritual path our soul chose for this incarnation. This doesn't mean that all illness stems from spiritual causes, but rather that our overall health and vitality improve dramatically when we're living in harmony with our deeper purpose. People who make this alignment often report increased energy, better sleep, improved immune function, and a general sense of physical well-being that seems to flow from their renewed sense of meaning and direction. The ripple effect of this alignment extends far beyond what most people imagine possible. Cayce's documented observations reveal that when someone operates from their true spiritual frequency, the healing energy they emanate doesn't just impact those in their immediate circle. It creates what he called spiritual ripples that can reach people across vast distances, individuals they've never met, will never meet, and may not even know exist. This hidden network of positive influence operates completely behind the scenes of ordinary awareness, yet its impact on global consciousness is profound and measurable. Think about the decisions you make when you feel genuinely inspired versus when you're operating from fear or obligation. That difference in your internal state affects not just your immediate environment, but contributes to a larger field of consciousness that influences humanity's collective direction. When you're aligned with your soul's purpose, you become a positive node in this invisible network, sending out frequencies that support others in remembering their own spiritual nature and potential. Now, I want to explore how this transformation manifests in the practical details of daily life, because this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of recognizing your own alignment. The second sign that someone is successfully living their soul's chosen path involves what Cayce called ideals manifestation. This represents the increasing harmony between the spiritual principles someone holds dear and how those principles actually show up in their everyday choices, relationships, and responses to life's challenges. The revelation here is that when you're truly on your soul's intended path, living according to your deepest values stops feeling like constant effort or moral struggle. The gap between who you want to be and who you actually are in moment-to-moment interactions begins closing naturally. Your actions start flowing from your spiritual ideals rather than being forced into compliance with them through willpower or social pressure. When content like this truly speaks to your spiritual journey and you feel, "This is what I needed to hear," a simple like tells me this message hit home and encourages me to keep sharing these truths. But understanding what Cayce meant by spiritual ideals requires going deeper than surface-level personality traits or behavioral goals. These aren't New Year's resolutions or character improvements you've decided to work on. Spiritual ideals represent the highest principles your soul specifically chose to embody and develop through the experiences of this particular incarnation. Whether it's cultivating unconditional love through challenging relationships, developing patience through situations that test your limits, or discovering your capacity for service through helping others navigate difficulties you yourself have overcome. What becomes remarkable about recognizing these soul-chosen ideals is how expressing them shifts from feeling like constant work to becoming as natural as breathing. When someone is truly aligned with their spiritual purpose, living according to their deepest values stops requiring the mental energy and willpower it once demanded. The transformation occurs gradually but unmistakably. Patience emerges naturally in situations that used to trigger frustration. Compassion flows freely toward people who previously activated judgment, and service opportunities appear that perfectly match both their capabilities and their heart's calling. This natural expression represents one of the clearest indicators that someone has moved beyond surface-level personality improvement into genuine soul alignment. The forced behavior and moral striving that characterizes most self-development efforts gives way to authentic spiritual expression that feels effortless and sustainable. It's the difference between swimming upstream against your nature and finally discovering the current that was designed to carry you. But here's where Cayce's revelations take an unexpected turn that challenges conventional spiritual thinking. He discovered that this alignment doesn't lead to an easier, more comfortable life. Instead, it creates what he called karmic acceleration, a phenomenon where souls experience rapid spiritual growth through intensified learning experiences. The journey toward purpose fulfillment actually becomes more demanding, not less, because your capacity to handle spiritual challenges expands dramatically. The hidden truth behind this acceleration reveals why so many people resist fully stepping into their soul's calling. On some level, they sense that alignment will bring greater responsibility and more complex decisions, rather than the peaceful, problem-free existence they imagine spiritual development should provide. The mindset shift required involves understanding that spiritual growth isn't about escaping life's difficulties, but developing the capacity to navigate them with grace, wisdom, and positive impact. Those who are successfully living their soul's purpose often find themselves facing more intense challenges precisely because their spiritual capacity has increased to handle greater responsibility. It's as if the universe recognizes their expanded ability to process difficult experiences and respond with love rather than reactivity, so it provides them with situations that match their enhanced capability. The person who has developed patience through years of challenging relationships may find themselves becoming the go-to support for others, navigating similar difficulties. The individual who has learned to transform personal pain into compassion may discover themselves naturally placed in positions where that hard-earned wisdom can serve others facing comparable struggles. This intensification operates behind the scenes of what appears to be coincidence or bad luck, but represents the systematic way spiritual law provides growth opportunities that match our evolving capacity to handle them constructively. This systematic provision of growth opportunities reveals something profound about how spiritual development actually works, and it connects directly to the third sign that someone is living their soul's chosen purpose. As your capacity for handling complex spiritual challenges expands, you simultaneously develop stronger connection to what Cayce called the divine within, an enhanced ability to receive guidance and wisdom that helps you navigate these intensified experiences with clarity and purpose. The transformation in your relationship with intuitive guidance becomes unmistakable when you're aligned with your soul's path. Decisions that once required endless analysis and anxiety-provoking deliberation begin resolving themselves through a deeper knowing that emerges from within. You find yourself naturally attuned to universal forces that provide direction, timing, and insight precisely when needed. This isn't about developing special psychic abilities or joining some exclusive spiritual elite. It's about accessing what Cayce taught is every soul's natural inheritance. The hidden truth that revolutionizes how we think about wisdom and guidance is Cayce's revelation that every soul has access to infinite wisdom through proper attunement with spiritual forces. This capacity isn't distributed unequally or reserved for those with special talents. It's a fundamental aspect of spiritual consciousness that becomes available when we align with our soul's intended frequency and purpose. The journey toward accessing this guidance involves removing the internal noise and resistance that blocks our natural connection to universal intelligence. What makes this development so practical and reliable is how it manifests through the channels we already use but might not fully trust. Those living their purpose find that their dreams become increasingly meaningful and instructive, providing solutions to problems, warnings about potential difficulties, and encouragement during challenging periods. Their meditation practice deepens naturally, not through forced technique or discipline, but because inner silence becomes a refuge and source of renewed clarity. Most significantly, their intuitive knowing, those sudden insights and gut feelings about people and situations, becomes remarkably accurate and helpful. This enhanced guidance system operates behind the scenes of what appears to be good, luck or sharp instincts, but actually represents the systematic way spiritual intelligence communicates with souls who have aligned their personal will with their deeper purpose. The impact on decision-making becomes profound. Instead of struggling through complex choices with limited information, you begin receiving step-by-step direction that leads naturally from one right action to the next, creating a flow of meaningful progress that feels both effortless and deeply satisfying. The mindset shift involves learning to recognize and trust this guidance, even when it conflicts with conventional logic or social expectations, because the wisdom being accessed operates from a much broader perspective than ordinary thinking can encompass. What becomes particularly fascinating about this enhanced guidance is how it consistently operates with a specific directional bias that reveals something profound about spiritual law. The insights, promptings, and intuitive knowing that emerges when someone is aligned with their soul's purpose never directs them toward purely personal advantage or selfish gain. Instead, every piece of guidance received consistently points toward greater service to others, using their unique gifts and experiences in ways that promote collective spiritual growth rather than individual advancement. This service-oriented nature of spiritual guidance represents one of the clearest ways to distinguish authentic inner knowing from ego-driven wishful thinking or self-justification. True spiritual direction always considers the well-being of all souls involved in any situation, often leading to decisions that require personal sacrifice or stepping outside your comfort zone for the benefit of others. The transformation in your decision-making process becomes unmistakable. Instead of asking, "What's in this for me?" you find yourself naturally considering, "How can this serve the highest good of everyone involved?" The revelation that changes everything about spiritual development is how this guidance operates through what Cayce called step-by-step spiritual direction. Rather than receiving some grand cosmic download about your entire life purpose, souls aligned with their calling receive incremental instructions where each spiritual guidance, when faithfully followed, leads naturally to the next level of understanding and service opportunity. It's like climbing a staircase where you can only see the next step, but taking that step reveals the one after it. This systematic approach ensures that your spiritual capacity develops at the proper pace to handle increasing responsibility without becoming overwhelmed or spiritually prideful. Each level of service you successfully navigate prepares you for more complex situations where your growing wisdom and compassion can have greater impact. The journey unfolds behind the scenes of what appears to be coincidence, but actually represents careful spiritual orchestration that matches opportunities with readiness. Now I want to explore how this guidance system creates what Cayce identified as the fourth sign of soul purpose alignment, something he called service magnetism. When someone is genuinely living according to their pre-incarnation blueprint, they begin attracting opportunities to serve others in ways that perfectly utilize their unique combination of spiritual gifts, life experiences, and natural talents. These aren't random acts of kindness or generic volunteer work, but specific situations where their particular journey has prepared them to offer exactly what someone else needs for their own spiritual growth and healing. The magnetism operates through spiritual law rather than personal networking or conscious effort. People in need of precisely what you have to offer begin appearing in your life through seemingly chance encounters, unexpected invitations, and synchronistic events that create perfect matches between your capacity to serve and others' need for support. If you're genuinely seeking to understand your soul's deeper purpose and want to explore these profound teachings together, I'd love to have you subscribe. There's so much more transformative wisdom we're going to uncover. The deeper revelation about this service magnetism transforms how we understand the entire concept of spiritual service. Cayce taught that service isn't something we do as an activity or career choice, but something we become through our fundamental way of being in the world. When you're aligned with your soul's purpose, service opportunities don't require seeking out or forcing. They appear spontaneously because your internal frequency naturally attracts situations where your particular gifts and experiences can create the greatest positive impact. This represents a complete mindset shift from conventional thinking about helping others or making a difference. Instead of strategizing about how to serve or feeling guilty about not doing enough charitable work, you begin recognizing that your very presence and authentic expression of your soul's chosen qualities creates service automatically. The person who has developed genuine patience through personal struggles becomes a calming influence wherever they go. The individual who has transformed pain into wisdom naturally attracts others ready to heal from similar wounds. The hidden truth behind this magnetism operates through what Cayce called spiritual law, the principle that like attracts like in the spiritual realm. Souls genuinely committed to service, growth, and positive transformation naturally attract circumstances, people, and opportunities that enable even greater service expression. Your internal alignment creates an invisible signal that draws corresponding experiences and relationships, operating completely behind the scenes of ordinary awareness, but with remarkable precision and timing. What makes this law particularly fascinating is how it often works, through apparent problems and challenges rather than obviously positive opportunities. Cayce observed that true service assignments frequently appear disguised as difficulties that need solving, situations that seem burdensome or complicated at first glance. The person aligned with their soul's purpose learns to recognize these apparent problems as spiritual assignments, precisely crafted opportunities to apply their developed wisdom and compassion in ways that serve others' growth and healing. That difficult neighbor who keeps creating drama may be providing you with the perfect opportunity to practice unconditional love. The workplace conflict that everyone wants to avoid might be exactly where your gift for mediation and peaceful resolution is most needed. The family crisis that appears to disrupt your plans could be the situation where your hard-earned emotional strength can provide the stability others desperately need during their transformation. Developing this spiritual recognition leads naturally to what Cayce identified as the fifth sign of soul purpose alignment, something that challenges our fast-paced, instant gratification culture in profound ways. Purpose-aligned souls gradually learn to work in harmony with what he called God's timing, rather than trying to force outcomes through personal will and determination. This represents a fundamental transformation in how someone approaches goals, relationships, and life circumstances. The revelation here isn't about becoming passive or resigned to whatever happens. Instead, it involves developing what Cayce termed active patience, a dynamic state where you continue taking inspired action and providing consistent service while remaining genuinely detached from specific timelines and outcomes. You plant seeds through your daily choices and spiritual service, but you release attachment to exactly when and how those seeds will bear fruit. This shift in mindset reveals one of the most reliable ways to distinguish between ego-driven activity and genuine soul purpose expression. Cayce taught that impatience is one of the primary indicators that someone is operating from ego rather than spiritual alignment. The ego demands immediate results, visible progress, and external recognition for its efforts. It wants to control not just what happens, but when it happens, often creating stress, frustration, and burnout when reality doesn't conform to personal expectations and timelines. The journey toward divine timing, patience involves recognizing how much energy gets wasted in trying to accelerate processes that have their own natural rhythm and development cycle. Relationships deepen according to their own timeline, not when we decide they should. Spiritual growth unfolds through experiences that can't be rushed or manufactured. Service opportunities appear when the person needing help is ready to receive what we have to offer, not necessarily when we're eager to provide it. Behind the scenes of what appears to be delays or obstacles, divine timing is actually ensuring that all the necessary elements align for maximum positive impact. The person you're meant to help may need to go through certain experiences first to be ready for your assistance. The resources required for your service work may need time to develop or become available. Your own spiritual capacity may need further strengthening before taking on greater responsibility. Active patience involves trusting this unseen orchestration while remaining consistently engaged in spiritual service and personal growth. You continue showing up, doing your inner work, responding to current opportunities, and maintaining your spiritual practices without constantly evaluating whether you're making sufficient progress fast enough. The transformation occurs when service becomes its own reward rather than a means to achieve specific external outcomes. This understanding of divine timing reveals something even more profound about those apparent delays and obstacles that can feel so frustrating when you're eager to move forward with your spiritual service. What Cayce discovered through his documented readings is that these seeming setbacks are actually spiritual preparation periods, carefully orchestrated to ensure your soul is ready for the greater responsibility and expanded service opportunities that are coming. The hidden truth behind these delays transforms how you interpret life's challenges and unexpected detours. If this exploration of Cayce's teachings sparked that inner recognition and created a genuine connection with your path, alike helps this wisdom reach other souls who are ready for these insights. Every period of waiting, every closed door, every situation that forces you to develop more patience or inner strength is actually building the spiritual capacity you'll need for the next level of service your soul is being prepared to provide. The journey often involves developing qualities and skills you didn't know you needed, through experiences you wouldn't have chosen, but that prove essential for your ultimate purpose fulfillment. Now, I want to explore what Cayce revealed as perhaps the most surprising aspect of soul purpose alignment, the sixth sign that someone is living their pre-incarnation blueprint. This involves what he called conscious karma balancing, where souls actively work to resolve spiritual debts from previous incarnations through their present life service and growth experiences. This revelation completely transforms how we understand the challenges and relationship patterns that keep appearing in our lives. The transformation in perspective here is revolutionary. Instead of seeing recurring difficulties as bad luck or evidence that life is unfair, purpose-aligned souls begin recognizing these patterns as opportunities to balance past life actions through present life service and spiritual development. That person who consistently triggers your anger may represent someone you wronged in a previous incarnation, and your soul chose this lifetime's relationship dynamic as an opportunity to develop patience and unconditional love toward them. Cayce's documented teachings reveal that karma isn't the universe's punishment system, but rather its educational curriculum. Every soul accumulates both positive and challenging karma through their actions, thoughts, and intentions across multiple lifetimes. The debts we create through causing others pain or acting from selfishness don't disappear. They become learning opportunities that our souls specifically request in subsequent incarnations to develop the wisdom and compassion needed for spiritual advancement. This conscious karma balancing often manifests as an inner knowing that certain relationships or situations carry deeper significance than their surface appearance suggests. You find yourself drawn to serve people who represent the types of individuals your soul may have harmed in previous lifetimes, even when your conscious mind has no memory of these past connections. The impact of understanding this dynamic removes victim mentality and replaces it with spiritual curiosity about what each challenging relationship is meant to teach you. This conscious karma balancing creates one of the most beautiful aspects of spiritual development, a natural willingness to serve those who represent people your soul previously harmed in past incarnations, even when your conscious mind has no memory of these ancient connections. The transformation occurs when you find yourself inexplicably drawn to help individuals who might have every reason to dislike or distrust you, yet something deeper compels you to offer genuine service and support regardless of their response. Behind the scenes of these relationships, your soul recognizes opportunities to balance old debts through present kindness, patience, and selfless service. The person who consistently challenges your boundaries may represent someone you once violated. The individual who seems to drain your energy might be someone you once abandoned when they needed support. Your soul's wisdom guides you toward healing these ancient wounds through current acts of love and service. What makes this process so profound is how it develops what Cayce called spiritual curiosity, a fundamental shift in how purpose-aligned souls approach life's difficulties and relationship challenges. Instead of reacting with frustration, resentment, or victim mentality, they begin asking deeper questions about what spiritual lesson or service opportunity each situation provides. This mindset transformation turns every challenging encounter into a potential classroom for spiritual growth. The journey involves recognizing that your most difficult relationships often represent your greatest opportunities for spiritual advancement. That family member who pushes all your buttons, that co-worker who seems impossible to please, that neighbor who creates constant drama. Each of these connections may be precisely what your soul requested to develop specific qualities like patience, unconditional love, or the ability to maintain inner peace regardless of external circumstances. Now, I want to reveal what Cayce identified as perhaps the most remarkable sign of soul purpose alignment, something that sounds almost impossible but is documented throughout his extensive readings. The seventh sign involves what he called expanded consciousness access, where souls aligned with their purpose gain increasing connection to what he termed the Akashic records, the spiritual record of all souls' experiences throughout time. This isn't about developing dramatic psychic abilities or having mystical visions. Instead, it manifests as gradual expansion of understanding, wisdom, and spiritual perception that guides your service work and relationships. You begin accessing information and insights that seem to come from beyond your personal experience or education, yet prove remarkably accurate and helpful in serving others' spiritual growth and healing needs. The revelation that changes everything about spiritual development is understanding that this expanded access operates through your increasing spiritual vibration rather than special techniques or training. When your spiritual vibration aligns with your soul's intended frequency, you naturally begin attuning to the Akashic dimension because like attracts like on every level of consciousness. This isn't something you force or achieve through specific practices. It's the natural result of living authentically from your soul's chosen purpose. As your thoughts, actions, and intentions increasingly reflect your spiritual ideals, your personal frequency begins matching the vibrations of universal wisdom and knowledge. The transformation happens so gradually that you might not initially recognize it as anything extraordinary. You start having deeper insights during conversations, understanding people's motivations and struggles with unusual clarity, or knowing exactly what to say to help someone through a difficult situation. Information seems to flow through you rather than from your personal knowledge base, yet it proves remarkably accurate and helpful for those you're serving. Behind the scenes of these expanded perceptions, your consciousness is accessing the accumulated wisdom and experience of all souls throughout time. The challenges you're facing may trigger memories of how similar situations were successfully navigated by others. The service opportunities appearing in your life connect you to strategies and approaches that have proven effective across countless lifetimes and circumstances. But here's what Cayce emphasized most strongly about this expanded consciousness access. It comes with dramatically increased spiritual responsibility. The knowledge and wisdom you begin accessing isn't meant for personal advantage, spiritual pride, or demonstrating special abilities. Every insight, every piece of guidance, every deeper understanding you receive is intended to be applied in service to others' spiritual growth and healing, rather than personal advancement or recognition. This responsibility factor represents one of the most reliable ways to distinguish genuine spiritual development from ego-driven psychic fascination. True expanded consciousness always leads to greater humility, deeper compassion, and increased commitment to serving the spiritual well-being of all souls rather than personal aggrandizement. The journey involves recognizing that spiritual gifts and expanded awareness are temporary loans from universal intelligence that must be used constructively, or they naturally withdraw. The impact of understanding this responsibility transforms how you relate to any special insights or abilities that emerge through your spiritual development. Instead of feeling chosen or superior, you recognize yourself as a temporary steward of wisdom that ultimately belongs to the collective spiritual evolution of humanity. This awareness keeps you grounded while allowing the expanded consciousness to flow through you more clearly. This understanding of spiritual stewardship leads directly to what Cayce identified as the eighth sign of soul purpose alignment, something that fundamentally changes how someone approaches their daily choices, relationships, and overall influence in the world. Purpose-aligned souls naturally begin accepting greater responsibility for their spiritual growth and, perhaps more significantly, for their impact on others' spiritual states and development. This isn't a burden they take on reluctantly, but a recognition that emerges naturally from expanded awareness. The transformation involves realizing that spiritual responsibility extends far beyond personal behavior and obvious actions. Cayce taught what he called vibrational accountability, the recognition that every thought and emotion you hold contributes to the spiritual atmosphere around you, affecting others' spiritual states even when you're completely unaware of this influence. Your internal state of peace or agitation, love or fear, hope or despair creates invisible ripples that touch everyone you encounter, and often people at great distances whom you've never met. This revelation changes everything about how conscious individuals approach their inner life and emotional management. Instead of thinking that private thoughts and feelings only affect themselves, they begin recognizing that their internal spiritual climate contributes to the collective consciousness that influences humanity's overall direction and well-being. The journey involves developing greater conscientiousness about maintaining constructive spiritual vibrations that promote healing, peace, and growth in the invisible network of consciousness we all share. Behind the scenes of this expanding responsibility, souls aligned with their purpose develop what Cayce called the ninth and most profound sign of spiritual alignment: conscious co-creation with divine will. This represents the ultimate transformation in how someone approaches goals, decisions, and life direction. Instead of operating primarily from personal desires and ego-driven ambitions, they learn to distinguish between personal will and divine will, consistently choosing alignment with spiritual principles over self-serving objectives. The hidden truth about this co-creation is that it doesn't require sacrificing your authentic desires or becoming passively submissive to external authority. Cayce taught that when human will is properly aligned with spiritual principles, personal desires naturally harmonize with divine will because our deepest spiritual longings actually originate from our soul's connection to universal consciousness. The conflict between what you want and what serves. The highest good dissolves when you're operating from your true spiritual nature. This harmony creates what Cayce called effortless service, a state where spiritual work flows naturally without force or struggle, and where you experience deep fulfillment regardless of external recognition or material reward. Your service becomes an expression of who you are rather than something you do, and the impact spreads through dimensions of consciousness that extend far beyond what you can see or measure. This recognition of conscious co-creation with divine will represents the culmination of what Cayce discovered about souls living their true purpose. When you reach this level of spiritual alignment, your entire life becomes a collaborative effort between your individual consciousness and universal intelligence, creating outcomes that serve both your soul's growth and the collective spiritual evolution of humanity. If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration of Cayce's profound teachings, something inside you recognizes the truth of these principles. Perhaps you've identified patterns in your own spiritual journey that reflect these 9 signs, or maybe you're beginning to understand why certain experiences have appeared in your life with such perfect timing and purpose. The wisdom Edgar Cayce channeled through those 14,000 documented readings continues to guide souls toward their highest potential and deepest service. This is exactly the kind of transformative spiritual knowledge I'm committed to sharing here on this channel. Insights that don't just inform your mind, but actually support your soul's awakening and purpose fulfillment. If this content resonates with your spiritual journey, and you'd like to continue exploring these life-changing teachings together, I'd be honored to have you subscribe. There's so much more profound wisdom to discover about soul purpose, spiritual development, and living from your highest potential. Let me know you made it all the way to the end by writing, "This message was meant for me," in the comments below. I read every single comment, and there's something powerful about declaring your readiness to receive spiritual truth and guidance. And if this exploration of Cayce's teachings created that sense of recognition and spiritual connection I was hoping to share with you, a like on this video helps this wisdom reach other souls who are ready for these insights. There's a video right here that dives even deeper into how to practically apply these spiritual principles in your daily life and relationships. Click and continue with me over there, because the journey of living your soul's true purpose is just beginning.